Hey, we are live, gang. Sorry about that. Jeff was just finished up trimming his mustache out. He's got the Just for Men trimmers, touch of gray.
Yeah, I do. A touch of gray. Yeah, thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
Tony dressed up first today. Got a hoodie going. Thank you,
That's
Tony.
right.
Thank you.
Trying to
Lewis is he is a truck driver, so we don't know exactly what he's doing. No, I'm just kidding. He's supposed to be on here, but he's out. He's probably sliding tandems or checking airlines or something. So he'll be on here in a minute. But we got Kenneth Carter on, as I call him, KC3.
KC3.
Mm-hmm. So we had him on. You know, I looked, Kenneth. It was like October of 21.
Holy smokes!
Wow, I thought it was last month.
I know. That's what I thought. That episode, and I talked way too much. So I'm gonna.
Some things don't change.
Yeah, I know. don't know. You're gonna make friends with Tony now. Don't start now.
That's the plan.
Hey, you keep it up, Kenneth.
That's the plan.
But hey, man, we wanted to have you on. Tony's been bugging me for the last couple of weeks, and I'm usually got like people lined up, and he's like, "Let's have Kenneth on." Again, I'm like, well, hang on a second here. You know, we got to get to where we're at. But I was like, oh, sweet, we got a break. I was like, perfect. Right before we're going on to the truck show next week, we're gonna go live from there with Adam Wingfield. That'd be a good one. And then yeah, that dude. I like that dude. I like his watches too. I don't know if you've ever watched him, but those things, that's like a Big Ben sitting on his wrist. But yeah, so we wanted to go live. Hey, I got a new poster. I think you guys can see that. I can't really zoom in, but it's got Hold My Beer on it and everything. It didn't really work out that well. My sister made it for me, but
wow, you throw under the bus real quick.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. So here's what I want to do though, because I'm surprised, when we because when I went to YouTube to try to find our old episode, you had been on multiple podcasts. You're probably tired of talking about it, to be honest. But I was surprised when I put it out there how many people, because we have a lot of new followers, I feel like too, haven't heard your story. So, there's some people putting some stuff in the comments too. And, I think it's kind of a big thing. I watched, what was it the other day? Nick Saban. He was like getting interviewed by Charles Barkley. And he was talking to him about how he takes a lot of heat for his like approach to kids down there in Alabama and, giving second chances and stuff. And he talks about how, all right, kid messes up at 18 years old. We'll throw him out on the street, kick him out and then see how much better he get, Does it make him better, a better human being, or, we bring him in, get him some structure and turn him around. Now, obviously in your case, you didn't have that, right? I'm just giving an example of somebody who is doing that, but I think it's something that everybody kind of has experienced in their life. It's just whether or not, the degree to, what it is.
No, it's just whether or not we got caught.
That's what I was gonna say too. Exactly. It's like sometimes you're like, we've all been there, But so I think it's refreshing. I think people like hearing that type of story, especially with your success now and where you're at, with what you're doing. And I know I even see like your employees love you. Everything's going well there. But give us a little background on your story here for the people that are newer to it, and then also kind of where you guys are at today.
Okay, definitely. So it started with a dark past. No, I'm not gonna give you a story like that. So pretty much for 5 years, I was I'll go back further. I was driving trucks, got out of the military, continued to drive trucks, and took a big position with Estes, and I became the regional manager. While I was there, I was making pretty good money, but I still had my past around me. So I stopped selling drugs, stopped going out as much, but I still had friends that were doing it. So prior to getting the job at Estes, I was selling drugs for 5 years, and I was doing it every single day. The selling started to turn to using, and then it became a lifestyle. Quit my jobs, and just 7 days a week, I'm out doing nothing but trying to make extra money. From there, my mom was like, "Listen, you can't do this. You got to stop." And so I stopped, and I got a job at Estes because I already had the experience. And when I got a job at Estes, it was a lot of free time. It was I pretty much had my own office, and I could come and go as I please, just make sure I managed the truck. And started diving into it a little bit more. People say they need something, I was picking it up, dropping it off. Long story short, somebody I knew for a few years set me up with an undercover cop, and I sold to the undercover. Yeah, that was fun. So when I got set up with the undercover, I was in the car. About 20 cops came around me with ski masks on, guns pointed. The guy who I sold it to, which was the cop, they dragged him out. And so now I'm surrounded by these cops, don't know what's going to happen. I get pulled out of the car. They're asking me to help them, work for them. And I tell them that's not part of what I do. So I got sentenced. I was facing 90 years in prison for, yeah. That was 3 times more than how old I was. So it was for trafficking cocaine and selling delivery. Right before that, I got caught with this undercover. I did it once before with that same friend. And so that's how I got the 2 charges stacked up against, or the 4 charges stacked up against me. So I ended up getting a plea deal, got 3 years in prison. First couple months I was there, I wasn't even sure where I was at. It was kind of lost. I'm sure you can understand how all this change is taking place immediately. How you doing, Antoine? So taking place, and after about 3 months, I realized I needed to do something different. I'm playing cards every day. People are fighting over the card games. Everybody's like, their future is not there for them. They're always talking negative, and I'm like, I got to do something different. Because if I continue playing cards every day, in 3 years, I'm going to get out and either host card games or try to get a job at a casino, and that wasn't in my future. So from there, I started going to the library, reading books. I read all the freight books, trucking books, logistics books, self-help books, just trying to find out who I was. So at 32, 33 years old, I still didn't know who I was. One of the books had questions like, what are your fears? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Man, I listed so many strengths, and I couldn't come up with a weakness. So I was really into myself. After about 2 or 3 weeks, I started to play back what I was doing, what I was going through, and how I treated people. And from there, I started to see all these weaknesses. I wasn't respecting people. I wasn't making anybody else a priority. It was all about me. And so I started to change those behaviors. And that's actually how we came up with the values that we have with the Marathon. It's professionalism, empathy, reliability, care, and honesty. Those are the 5 things that I found that I wasn't enduring, I wasn't having. I was the opposite of all those. And so I started reading books, and from that point on, I did nothing but read and make business plans. That's all I did every day, all day. I probably got 4 business plans for the time I had. So when I got out of prison, I immediately started a business. 3 months in, I was like, listen, I put the 2.5 years or the 2 years into reading and studying. Now it's time to just do something about it. So I'm really big on making decisions and moving fast. Because that whole time when you're in prison and you're sitting there, you keep saying, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. You don't have the opportunity. You know, we sit out here every day and saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, but we're not doing it. We just say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You know, that curse of Monday. Oh, I'll start Monday. I'll do this Monday. Monday never happens. So I made sure that once I got out, that this is what I got to do. Money or no money, I'm getting into it, and this is what I'm doing. So that's how the business started. You're mute. You're on mute.
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad that you decided to share that with us because
I was on mute. Sorry.
Yeah, we're not talking to you, but it's awesome because how many people have that same exact story but just didn't get busted, right? I mean, I've been there. I wasn't selling, but I was a user and I played around with some stuff and
Anthony.
Hey, I did some stuff that
What?
I'm not proud of, and I regretted every bit of it. But
Jason, yeah, he didn't answer.
Hey, statute of limitations.
Yeah, it's Lippard. It's Lippard. Yes, it's
separation, search and freight. You're all right.
It was a long time before where I'm at now. It was high school, and I was an idiot. I made a lot of bad choices. You got to pay the societal debt for yours, but the rest of us that didn't end up in that spot get to learn from people who decided to take a a life lesson from that instead of being jaded. I follow a guy named Damon West, the coffee bean guy. You ever heard of him? If you haven't followed him, get on LinkedIn and find him too, because Lippert brought him to us and had him in a theater, and we came and saw him in groups. And he said there was this guy in prison that told him the same thing. You can be a coffee bean or a carrot or an egg. Any of those things are going to be in hot water, and it makes the egg soft. It makes the carrot soft, but or hard. It makes the egg hard. It makes the carrot soft, but the coffee bean makes the water better. And he decided in his time in prison that he was going to go change his world. And now he's out there on a speaking circuit telling everybody to be a coffee bean. And it is so cool to see those stories of redemption. Everybody loves an underdog, everybody. And, I think the reason we love the underdog story is because we've all been there to some degree. I'm not saying I have anything like your experience, but we're all an underdog in our own mind, right? We're all fighting unbearable odds. We had this poor childhood and we were growing up when really it was probably pretty decent. But it's an awesome thing to hear somebody come and tell that story unashamedly, to say, here, this is where I was, this is where I am, and you can do it too, because I can do it. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm telling you, man, that's a story of hope. That's the story of Jesus. That's the story of Kenneth. That's the story of me. So many other people can tell you that same story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's a certain stubbornness that makes you good in logistics, to where you're going to figure it out, whatever. And I think that it kind of just is a trait that if you have that in life, sometimes it can get you in trouble being a little stubborn, but sometimes it gets you through hard times too, right? Because you're just like, I'm not going to give up and whatnot. And I think the coffee bean story, that's great. I think, Tony, you should just copy that, and you could be a tea bag. Make the water just as good, with a little bit of spice to it.
That's right.
But no. So while I was on mute earlier, I was talking to myself. What I was saying was, I think last time we didn't really talk about. What I'm curious about is this: like we've kind of talked about before, after all these things, but like once out, what was how did you get started? Like what kind of kickstart you? Like what kind of pushed you? Because there's a lot of people that start a business, but it kind of takes not always help, but like something to kind of push and help, I guess, technically get started and get rolling.
Well, that's a good question. I was already driving trucks because once I was in work release, the company I was working at before I started selling, my brother called her and said, hey, to the owner, called her and said, hey, my brother's in prison, he needs a job. She said, hey, tell me, give me a call. I called her on the cell phone once I was in work release, and she said, listen, you have a job. Wrote a letter to the state of Florida prison system, told them that she's giving me a job, and they moved me from where I was at in Lake City to back to Orlando, and I got a job with her. So the second I was, there he goes. Louis is finally here.
Louis.
Yeah,
hey, sorry guys, I got caught.
You got caught?
That's the story we're talking about. Getting caught.
Mute. He's on mute.
Yeah, I got caught up in traffic.
Oh,
you gotta finish that sentence. You can't say you got caught.
I thought the chopper split you. All right, go ahead, Kenneth. Sorry.
Yeah. So once I got a job with them, I worked in the warehouse, became the warehouse manager, all while I worked for these. The day I got out, I went and got my license, and I started driving trucks for the same company, back driving again. And every stop I went to, I said, hey, I'm a broker. Help me out. I need a job. I need business. And I finally ran into someone who said, hey, I do need some trucks. That day, he said he needed 3 trucks. I was like, well, I don't know how to start. I was now to tell you what I got. Came back and I didn't even have a laptop yet. And I figured it out. I started calling trucking companies in the area who were at one point going to be my competitors because I was going to start a trucking business. And I convinced the shippers to pay me up front so I could pay the drivers up front. And so that's how I started booking my trucks. And from there, I just started building.
Yeah, because getting over that credit hump and getting that going. So you were slinging freight while in the truck.
Yes. I I was actually, there's been times where I delivered loads or picked up loads at the same place I'm having the truck come in at.
Yeah. So somebody just mentioned,
Could you hire that guy that you were?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think your headset too. They may be dying. That's why I don't use my AirPods. But just so you know, somebody else mentioned it too, kind of cutting out. But so Lewis.
Yes, sir. What's happening?
Did you hear that story, Lewis?
Talk to me. I missed it. I wish I wouldn't have. I caught the back half of it.
So he said he drove a truck. He was driving a truck. 19 years, wasn't it, Kenneth?
For what? What's 19 years?
Yeah, no, you sound way better now.
Yeah, way better, way better.
My AirPods do that too. You drove truck for 19 years, is that right?
Yes, at the time. So I've
Yeah.
been driving since 2001.
Yeah, started in the Army. And then he's talking to shippers, just like I told you to do, Louis, while he's out and about and brokering while he's driving. Not while he's driving, he's safe. He was parked. But slanging freight. So, man, I couldn't imagine. I tell Lewis that all the time. When you're in sales, when you're right there in front of them, you pull up in a truck and shake their hand. I mean, that's a whole different ball game, compared to, hey, I'm a broker, and hey, Tony, you got any drayage? Like that. Those types of sales is like,
Got any dray?
but yeah, so that's pretty cool. So let's get a current update. How many employees are you at now?
2.
So you're at 2. What's the max that you have been at?
4.
4?
Commission based. But those people are in and out. One of my issues was hiring people without experience, and so they die out. They give you a month. If they don't get a deal or sell in a month, they're out.
Yeah, especially if it's pure commission.
Yeah.
Yep, that's very, very true. Yeah, it's hard to get that. That's kind of where, I mean, you look at capital from a standpoint of getting started, getting that employee wise is the toughest part too. Plus, now you're on the line, and if you're a decent person, you feel bad not being able to pay somebody if it comes down to it. I know when we first started, but my first company I was with, there was times we had a big commission check, and they'd have to sit down and be like, hey, we can't pay you all of it here. You know what I mean? I just was what it was. It's part of the growing pains, but I don't know. You see a lot of the acquisitions nowadays. That's what it is too. I mean, they're requiring it to get the employees and get the bankroll on. But right. So where do you see coming out of where you started? You started in the Army, so obviously that instilled some discipline in you. Obviously then after that you had yourself, like you said, you surrounded with people that were just kind of bad news. That's where it starts a lot of times. So I try to avoid Tony, but and get yourself it does though. And then
wow, man. Tough.
But you are where you are now. Where do you see it going? What kind of goals do you have now? I mean, what are you looking to do?
Well, short-term goals, just become more of a primary drayage broker. We're still doing some LTL, some truckloads. Oh yeah, Tony, I think I sent you an email.
I think all my email gets filtered, man. I don't even read any.
It's got keywords drayage. It automatically gets filtered.
I almost spit that on my phone.
Yeah, it goes to his drayage folder that says must respond to.
That's why I put intermodal in the email.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeff, you're gonna have to part that mustache so we can hear you a little better.
All right, hold on a second. There we go. Can you hear me better now?
That's beautiful.
Couple fenders.
There you go. Hold on a second. Getting a little bit longer.
I think you just bragging right now. I can't grow anything here.
Man, I bet you get all the girls to the yard.
Well, out in California, he does legally because he's got the side skirts. But we all know how that works. Anybody? No aerodynamics laws. Okay. Freight nerd.
Flat top.
Freight nerd.
Are you a flat top?
Yeah, maybe in about 10 years I will.
I actually just had a DOT officer.
Twist it.
Oh, nice. I actually just had a DOT officer go through a level 1 inspection with us yesterday, and day before yesterday, and yesterday I got to play that part. So I was impersonating an officer yesterday, and we did the level 1.
Nice.
We had 125 guys out the first day, and about 30 out the next day because they all wanted to be there for the level 1 that wasn't being done by me. So the officer could only be there one day out of the 2, and he was talking about those side skirts, and they're great except for they have to be rigidly attached. So if they see him flopping, he's going to pull you over. So
Yep.
California is the only state right now, according to this guy, that requires it.
Yeah, California requires it, and that not just flapping, but also if they're cut.
Yep.
So I don't know. At the end of the day, them being cut, I think because you see, you hit something right, you see that. I don't know if it's
Go into a slightly angled dock, and you go in there, and they drag.
right.
They drag. Every one of them drag. So
Yeah, that's the thing. You should
Yeah,
get like
Yep.
I've
They
had
should have-
landing gear drag.
automatically you hit a button that can come down like curtains.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah.
That's your new
at one
innovation.
time they were going to put ICC bars down the side of the trailers, which would prevent that from dragging and flopping all over the place. Because let's face it, when the ICC bars came out, it was supposed to prevent cars from going underneath the back of trailers when they were pulled over. But still to this day, you're still seeing cars go under it sideways when they're getting cut off or
Mhm.
whatever. So I don't know where they are at that. I don't know if anybody could answer that, but they were looking.
Well, the cars are getting smaller too.
yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
That's very true.
But anyway, so enough about me. Let's talk about Kenneth.
Yeah. Anyways, we kind of cut him off. Like, hey, enough about your goals, Kenneth. So anyway, what's your outlook? What are you looking to? What are you striving for? I know you got something going.
As of right now, we're just looking to hit the 1 million revenue mark. This is our 3rd year. We got pretty close last year, 820 something.
Oh,
So
my.
definitely trying to hit that
Nice.
1 million mark this year. And like
Very
I said, get more into the dredge, the imports, because it's a lot more work, and you stand out from most of the startup brokers at least.
Mhm.
Because I see that most of the time, especially during COVID, everybody jumped into the freight game.
Yep.
They just heard it was about money. So to differentiate ourselves, it's like, okay, we're going to get to dredge, because the ultimate goal is to become an international broker. Become a customs broker and get the whole conglomerate going on. So the easiest way to get there is to just start working our way backwards to the ports.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I think, I think about it more now, and I think that's a good way to put it too, because I feel like drayage is kind of the last thing people start to get into. They work their way in, but from my experience, at least, a lot of what, my best customers I've had or whatever are, Port Island, Louisiana, Beaumont, Texas, and Savannah, Georgia, and those areas. And it's like, it took me a while for it clicked. It was like, hey, find the ports, find the freight. And a lot of times if they're sitting there and they're antsy because it's been on the ocean for way too long, they're willing to pay a little bit more to get it moving too. Rather than moving it from a warehouse in which they were storing it anyway. So it's interesting how that works, but that'll be a good way to branch out. And then as you obviously now, how many years now you've been in business?
This is our 3rd year.
Right. So I mean, you've already got customers you've had. Do you have customers you've had for all 3 years or?
Yes.
Yeah. So are you? I mean, now you got the chance to get those referrals, right? I mean, get those. Get on. The voted number 2 podcast in the industry by FreightWaves in 2020. But here we're talking freight, and get a little publicity and get out there too, because I think what you're running into right now in the industry now is anybody and everybody could make money here the last 2 years. And I think, there was a lot of pruning going on, where shippers were kind of getting screwed over by certain carriers or whatnot. And I think, yes, they want lower rates, but I think a lot of them are just wanting to work with people that are honest and good and have conversations and do things right. Now, it's just like anything in any job, there's shippers that aren't very good either, right? And they have bad intentions and they don't only care about themselves. But I think there's more of and you can even see it even on LinkedIn too, there's more of an outreach or a search for that, that's what people want, I mean, they want to work with that type of person, rather than, just some giant global company that is gonna, I was telling Tony the other day, I don't like to throw names out there, but the last probably of the last 10 customers I've landed, 5 of the 10 were with one specific huge top 3 brokerage in all of North America, and they just weren't happy with it. And it's part of it, you know, and it's CH, but anyway, so it's part of it. And because, you know, you get to a certain size too. And I mean, you're lower on the totem pole, right? Now you've got all the big dogs and you got somebody new. They're going to work this account for you. They don't do great. They don't give it the attention it needs. So like that little bit of attention and starting small, you know, that's why I've always liked to be with, you know, these smaller companies, is because, I mean, how much pride do you take, Ken, when you leave and you're like, you know, this is what I'm, you know, I put together, this is what I'm doing. I've got that one-on-one attention, you know, you're talking to all the contacts, and then your people see that too, you know?
Yeah. And that's what we kind of sell ourselves on too, is offering that small business benefit where your stuff is not sitting on a dock or sitting in the port waiting and incurring fees. We're small enough where we're tracking it, and the second it's released, we're going to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big benefit. And not to name names either, but the CH, our biggest customer now, left them because of that. You know, if they're not moving too much freight, they're going to be put on the back burner.
Yeah,
and every shipment we got is important.
Yeah, it's nothing against. It's nothing against if we name names. We're not in that game. It's just one of those things. It's part of the business model. It's how business works. You know, it's the advantage that you get as a smaller company.
Hey,
so yes, Tony.
The other advantage that you have as a smaller company is that every shipment value matters to me too, right? Because my job's on the line with every shipment, and when guys like you know that, you help yourself. With those big brokerages, you get a fail rate, and they won't admit it in public, but there's always that fail rate where you drop 1%, 2%, whatever. But man, that 1 or 2% is my job. I can't do that.
Yeah, and that's part of it. Once you get to a certain size where you have to have boards of directors and people at certain levels that really don't know or aren't even touching what's going on down there, because they've got one thing on their mind, that's, you know, numbers, investors, things like that. That's where that disconnect comes. This is part of it. But, you know, when you got somebody like Kenneth who's right there in the trenches with it all day, every day, somebody like Lewis, Jeff, even myself now, you know, with what we're trying to put together here. Hell, I was slinging freight today, man. I felt like I was 26 again. Like, I'm like, this shipment's not going to go. We're going to split this up. I'll find a cross dock. We'll, you know, They're like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, watch me. Let's go. You know, and a little rusty, but got back in it. But I think, you know, Tony, you know, that's what we always talk about with the show too. You know, Tony hop on a forklift, but when you get that disconnect, I think was when you kind of lose that value. So that's definitely something you got going for you, Kenneth. And if you do grow, and as you grow, you know, try your best to not lose that.
Yes.
There's no if.
As hard as it may be.
There's no if he grows. He's already growing.
You know what? I was going to write that in the comment at the end of this, but yeah, thank you.
There's only one way to go, and that's up. That's it.
Yeah, when you grow, not if, when.
Yeah.
I think TJ was talking about his hair.
Oh.
Yeah, he said if it grows, then he won't have that problem. But
I think that's on the downside. That's moving more into retirement.
I wanted to put out that post a couple weeks ago there for you, Kenneth, you know, without your knowledge, I know, but I hope you weren't mad or anything, but I realized there's nothing I can do about the bad guys out there. And I wanted to do something for the guys that are out there working their butts off, doing it right and working hard. So I've been trying to put something out about guys like you that are doing it right. You know, folks like Renee at Onyx, people like Sarah at ATS, you know, all the people that I know that are doing it right, that are pushing it out there, you know, that may or may not be with a big, well-established company, or they may be out on their own, or they may be coming up, but let's spread some more of that positivity of people doing each other right. There's tons of freight out there, guys. We can all do this and all win.
Tons.
Yep. It's so funny. It's so funny you say that, because I remember, like, when I first started, it was like, don't mention your customers. Don't mention your customers, you know? And then, you know, I got to know, you know, Brandon Bay and, Andrew Silver and some of those guys. And like, we'd talk and it'd be like, dude, this account's so huge. I'm scratching the surface of it. I give you the contact or whatever, you know, we're sharing names and things, and there's a lot to go around. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, some people are like, why would you do that? Or why would, Why not? Because I tell you what, when things go down and I need a crosstalk in El Paso, guess who I'm calling? Brandon Bay. You know what I mean? That's what he does.
Calling Josh.
And he's got my back, right? And I got him in with Lippert. You know, I mean, that's what, you know, how it works. And he couldn't do it himself because he can't handle it. But you know, I got it done for him. So I mean, but that's really where the benefit is. You know, we try to push that as best we can. But Lewis is getting ready to get out of the truck. You know, he's looking to move on a little bit. He may take on a commission-based only job, Kenneth. And I bet you the dude's sharp as it gets, man. I bet he could sling some.
Well,
freight.
hold on. Hold on with all that. As far as getting out of the truck, we're probably going to expand the business. I just can't get too much out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's you're kind of priming something that I can't really talk about yet. So
no, he's been teasing me all hey man, yeah, I got don't worry about my ticket for Matt's, you know, I got a VIP ticket. That's what he leaves it at that. And I go, oh, where'd you get that? He goes, oh, just some leads I got going. I'm like, oh, thanks for the information. Nice, yeah.
hold on. It wasn't leads. Let's clarify.
What'd you say?
I said partners. Very different than leads. Partners and leads
deal.
mean two very different things.
I'm not going to explain it or anything. I'm just going to tell you potential partners. But no, I think that's a good thing too. You know, Lewis, I think you kind of the same mindset as Kenneth when it comes to that. You know, growing that out and whatnot. And what are your main ports, Ken, that you run out of, and what are your I don't know a ton about drayage. I'll straight tell you that. So what are your like, you know, specialties when it comes to that? You know, I mean, there's certain things I'm sure that people excel in.
Yeah. So we our biggest ports are Savannah and South Carolina ports. That's what we're really big at. We do a few Tampas, a few Jacksonvilles, but mainly because we're doing a lot of shipments in Orlando where I live. So I go after prospects and customers where I'm at. So it's easier to get the customers here. I can go visit them and see them. And I'd like to go hop out. You probably seen some posts where I'm hopping out, checking out the drivers, meeting them. And so Savannah and Carolina is the closest ports to us, given the size.
Mm-hmm. So
and we do reefers and dry containers.
What was it you that put the post out the other day about? Was that you? I can't. Somebody put a post out that was pretty interesting to me because, like I said, I'm learning a little bit about drayage. I don't even want to touch LTL, but and something about a extension on it was like an extension on, you know, how long you had to wait, or there was something to do with like from 7 days worth of whatever. I mean, there was something you put out. I think it was you about drayage.
Yeah, it's for exports.
Yeah.
So you have you can book your containers to export with a 7-day window. So you have more time now.
Okay.
So
is that something you offer, or just something that you know that you can take advantage of?
Yeah, we offer that too, import or exports.
Nice. And
we do more imports though.
What's the benefit on that?
The window?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so planning. Definitely you have more time to plan. You don't have to get your truck and you're not working against the time. So you say, okay, I gotta get this out in 7 days. I have my window, because oftentimes just where you don't have the opportunity to go pick up that empty container. So you got to wait for that container to be available. There are times when chassis are not available, especially during COVID when everybody was trying to ship.
Yeah.
So given that 7-day window plan, you're able to secure the container and also secure the chassis.
Nice. Do you have relationships then, you know, within where these yards are, you know, that, you know, on the other side too, not just, you know, prospecting customers, but, you know, that availability of chassis, containers, you know, where they're at, you know, ins and outs of that type of thing too? I mean, that's something you guys have a good grasp on as well?
Yeah, so we're connected to any port that we work out. We're connected to the port. We can see availability, container availability, chassis availability. We can see when the container's coming in, when it's offloaded from the vessel, if there's any holes on it, and we're giving those updates constantly. We're getting emails. I even get text messages. You can get your text alerts. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I've put posts out like the container's ready. I've already let my customer know because I'm getting that text message early. So that's something that the bigger brokers are not doing when they have so much volume. They're not worried about they're not getting. First of all, they're not getting text alerts, and they're definitely not getting text alerts to the owner.
Right. Yeah.
So that's our benefit there. And then different emails. We got 2 or 3 emails coming in, so everybody on my team, they can see that, and we can go ahead and we update the carrier. We sign him up with his email alert, so he sees them too. Everybody sees it. So we're picking up containers. If you need it delivered the same day, let's say Orlando, 400 miles, we're picking it up at 5 a.m. and bringing it straight through to you because we knew that it came off the vessel yesterday at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to be down in Savannah on the weekend of June 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere right in there. And at the TMSA conference down there.
I'll be there too.
We're going to be touring the port. It's going to be super cool.
I didn't even hear about that.
Tony's
get on there.
You didn't know? We didn't make it. I got to put a post out just to make. But Tony's speaking at it.
I'm not a speaker. I'm a panelist.
A panelist, but you're going to be on stage.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you dancing?
Oh no. Oh no.
I got a front row seat. I plan to get a front row seat. I actually emailed the person that's like running it to get a front row seat so I can have like a sign and all types of stuff. I got a truck horn I'm gonna bring with me.
No, Chipping Tony's instead of Chippendales. Chipping Tony's.
Yeah,
that ain't happening either.
But that's
Magic Tony.
You know, you look at like just Kenneth there going on, and you can see his passion and what he feels the advantage he brings and how good he is with certain things. But notice it didn't have anything to do with saving anybody money or all the things that you could do all these things. No, it was like, hey, this is what I write, and this is what people love. I'm texting owners, things that matter, right? And that's what sets people apart, I think. And if there's anything that people can gain from this, it's that not only his story and what he's went through and where he's at now, but there's a reason he's still there. It's not just that he did it and then he started a business and fizzled out. It's that he's still doing it, right? And so there's also an element to how you maintain that, and I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of people is, how do you maintain its fundamentals? It's that excellence. I was listening to, and I can't wait for that documentary on Michael Jordan to come out. But Kobe Bryant was talking about how he was having an interview. He was talking to Michael Jordan. He's like, hey, my 12-year-old, they're wanting to do all these fancy things and all these techniques. He's like, I'm trying to, everybody wants to do all these new things. He's like, but nobody wants to do the fundamentals over and over and over again. And he goes, what were you doing when you were 12? He goes, playing baseball. But at the same time, that's what he wasn't overtrained. He wasn't in like every AAU sport or whatever. That's what Michael Jordan was doing at the time. But Kobe talked about how he studied his angles, his foot movement. Where his elbows were when he did come at certain angles. And like mastered those. And that's how you sustain greatness for a certain amount of time, right? I mean, you see what the fundamentals are, and you do them over and over and over again. And you're consistent at it, and it's what keeps you at it. And once you start trying to get too fancy and take on everything and say you can do all this stuff, I think that's when people start to kind of wash themselves away a little bit, just kind of become, one of the crowd because they think that's what's going to have them stand out, but it's not.
I tell people this all the time in training. Do it right. Do it as slow as you need to do it right with 100% quality. And this is the same thing. It can be applied to any kind of brokerage. Do it right, do it right, do it right, do it right. Over time, that repetition will cause speed. Speed comes with time and repetition, but you can't go fast and get numbers and then go back and try and instill quality. You have to be quality from the get-go and get good at being quality faster. You know what I'm saying? So that it's that way in sales. I mean, that's what that smile and dial and those quotas are stupid. Guys, if you have a brokerage that's got quotas, turn them off.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
we don't have
quality over quantity.
Yeah, quality over quantity. It's a waste of time, man. It's absolutely a waste of time.
Yeah, and it's funny. So remember Kevin? So I was looking on the YouTube channel the other day. I hadn't been on there for a long time and watched our videos, but that Kevin Hill was on, and I think I had it as part of like one of the highlight videos, and he was like, "Speed is your friend, perfection is your enemy. And when in doubt, do 10 times more than you think you should do." And it's true. I mean, like, you got to do things at a certain rate, but perfection is your enemy. Like you got to embrace the fact that you're going to stumble through it. and you're just gonna, and that's, I always talk about, efficiency in motion. You're gonna get better and better as you continue to move forward with whatever you're doing, and whatever you take on. And so, there's challenges that everybody faces in life. You go through them. Kenneth's story is inspiring to a lot of people. And I think, and I know you said you're kind of full, you mentioned you put all your strengths down, no weaknesses, but was there ever a doubt in your mind? Like when you went in, or was that once you went in, were you just automatically determined, or was it the atmosphere was there ever a doubt in your mind?
That a doubt for what?
So, things go downhill, you get put in prison, right? And was there ever a doubt in your mind that, you may not, turn the corner, or may not turn things around, or may not get back, or, whatever it is? Sometimes, people go down a hole and they tend to mentally at least stay there.
Well, my problem was I was very oblivious to the whole thing. I never saw a future, but I was never even present. I was just doing whatever I do every single day. And the prison was the best thing that happened to me, to be honest. I attribute a lot of my success to prison, because there is where I had the time to say, okay, you're just who you are now. You have nothing. You're making money, you're driving cars, whatever case may be. That's not your true identity. When you go to prison and you're in that cell by yourself, now you have to be honest with yourself and be who you are. And so that's why I really had to figure out who I was. And that's where that strength and weaknesses came in. But my biggest issue was I was drinking every single day. I was starting to do a Coke, and that turned to an everyday thing. And so one of my things that I'm proud of to say right now is, like, April 1st, I'll be 6 years sober. That's
awesome, dude. Celebrate that.
Yes. And that's my whole thing. It's like, I find things to focus on that can help me. The business is that's my new drug. I'm excited. Like you said earlier, TJ, about when you're getting that truck and you're closing that deal, that's an excitement to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why it's hard to leave and grow the company to a place where you're saying that you may not be involved. I want to still always be involved. Maybe not on the day-to-day, but I want to be able to help make those strategic decisions to make sure that everybody's taken care of.
Yeah, and the best companies I know that have grown to 500 million plus, their owners are still there. They're still walking through the aisles. They're still, shaking hands. They're still involved.
And sometimes you have to do a SWOT analysis on yourself: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. As you would do to carriers or your prospects or whatever. That really, and you have those little squares, that quadrant, right? And you start writing down, what am I good at? What am I really bad at? Where are my opportunities and my niche and where I want to go? And who's threatening me? Am I threatening myself? Because you can with doubt, with negativity, which doesn't allow you to move to that next level. So when you finally write that down, you see it with your own eyes, life changes, man. It's the same thing for your prospects. You start narrowing down, you start focusing in on what you're good at and what you want to do. And it all takes time. It definitely doesn't happen overnight. You have to be willing to take that extra stride, that extra time, hour, day, week, month, but you'll get there as long as you keep your foot on the gas.
And that's the biggest thing. And I think I was going to say it, and then Kenneth, you touched on the other side of it, but is in today's world, and I see it a lot, is it's very easy to distract yourself.
Yes.
Right. It's very easy to distract yourself and not take that time to reflect and have. It's why I love sitting in a tree stand. This is how I was raised. It's why I love sitting in a fishing boat, because it's like, that's my time to even just surrounding yourself with certain people. Like, I used to, when I first was young, getting out in, 20s, and do my thing, I kind of avoid my dad a little bit. My dad's a very successful coach, very regimented and everything. But the reason why is because he told me what I didn't want to hear. He told me what I didn't want to hear. And so now I know when I'm feeling a certain way or whatever it is, I go and I say, Dad, you want to go grab a beer, and talk, because he's going to tell you straight up, Teach, get your shit together, And he always told me, he's like, you ever stop, talking, you see families kind of fall apart and things like that. He's like, and like, would that ever happen? He's like, if you ever stop talking, me and your mom, he's like, I'd be over at your house, grab you by the ear, pull you out, and said, what the hell is your problem? We don't let that happen. This is we're a family, those things, finding people like that and taking time to reflect, sometimes you're forced to do it, but like you said, you had drinking, you had things that were distracting you. And then the point you just touched on too was Now you find things, you know, to distract you, but distract you from, you know, the negatives, right? You search out those positives, right? You know, you get used to a certain high, depending on what it is. You know, at Tony, he was hauling horses, so you know he's probably all that dried manure he was lighting up, and who knows what he was doing with the shrooms that were growing off it. But you know, it's one of those things. And so when you find another high, now that's your addiction. Everybody's has a a key to addiction. It's just what is it? You know?
Yeah, definitely. I think
you know the old adage is you're your own worst enemy. You truly are. You know, there's no competition except yourself. You know, if you can drill that into yourself and say, you know what, I'm just as good, if not better, than everybody else. The only one that's going to stop me is me.
Well, right, Jeff. A lot of people that are free are in prison. That's where it starts. The prison is in the mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of that,
I was like, I'm more free now.
There you go.
Speaking of that, Ken, I had someone very close in my family, and I'm not going to say their name. But this person birthed me. Hear me out. And for 20 years, they were a prisoner. I've never seen a human be more free in my entire life. It's wild.
Wow.
You mean afterwards or while in?
Afterwards.
Yeah.
We get lost on the day-to-days. And like Jeff said, the way we think is what locks us up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
First of all, we're trying to appease everybody else. I wonder what that person thinks about me. So now you're not even knowing who you are. And then you have those negative thoughts in your own mind. And those people's opinions have changed who you are in the core. And next thing you know, it's 20 years later. And you're like, oh, damn, who am I? You don't even know.
Yeah. Yep.
And that guy that the opinion mattered doesn't matter anymore to you. So you got to quit thinking about that. And
that's right.
Think about the opinion that matters. Your loved ones, your whatever. If you relate to your creator, those are the people and entities whose opinions of you matter. Those are the ones that you got to make sure that you're focusing on. And Kenneth, that's why I wanted to have you back on here, because there's so many stories of redemption that end up in tragedy again. And man, it's been almost 2 or 3 years since we talked to you, and here you are, you're still getting after it and you're still growing. And it was just you before when we talked to you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Man, that is so awesome. I want to celebrate your success, and we want you to be successful. I want you to win. I want you to keep going and just hear the encouragement from all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's not just me. I have 2 guys, like I said, Antoine Battle. You guys probably see him on LinkedIn.
Antweezy.
He has a nickname now. And another guy, Mike Esquivel. Those guys, I can't do it by myself. You know, when you first talked to me, it was easy. We got to get you guys, Lewis and TJ, in the gym because y'all eating donuts.
No, this is my kids. I just had them on the counter. He showed me those.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, I really don't.
Yeah. I believe you there, TJ.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I ate some donuts.
Oh, and TJ, you touched on something earlier when you said like, well, I haven't been, or Tony, one of you guys, you say I haven't been through what you've been through. That's the problem that we're not looking at. Everybody has been down a dark road. You just got to find your bottom. That was my bottom. That doesn't mean you didn't have a bottom. And that wherever your bottom is, you got to stop lying to yourself and say, oh, it's okay. No, it's bad. And I got to get over it. And I got to figure something else out. That's probably the biggest problem with people. They're comparing themselves to something that's worse, like prison or addiction or, whatever the case may be. No, you can have a bottom tomorrow. And you just fight, you bounce from that bottom and you continue to grow.
Amen. Yeah. Comparison is a thief of joy. I think Mark Twain was attributed with that quote, but
yes.
I always love it because leading a team, I have people that always want to say, well, so-and-so's making X. Well, great. Does that cost you any money? Well, no. And what are you worried about? Be happy for them. There's tons of guys in my role that make way more than me. Good for them, man. I hope they do well. I hope they get a 1 in front of it or a 5 or whatever it is. When you start comparing yourself to somebody else, you will be so dissatisfied with your life. And that bottom has to come. It's all right here. The bottom is right here. The top is right here. The choice to be happy is right here. The choice to be miserable is right here. How you interact with people, the choice to be kind to people, it's all right here. And you have to decide that every single day.
And I think it's part
in the heart of a lion to move forward.
It's part of it's you hear you can overachieve in a room full of average people, but you still underachieve to your own standards. I mean, because I think when you lose sight of yourself, like what Kenneth was saying, didn't really know himself. I think when you don't know yourself or don't know who you are, I don't think you know your potential either, right? What's your motivation? And I think when you look at, how do I make money or how do I get by? If you don't know what you can do or don't believe that you can do anything, you go the easy way. It's a lot easier. To go sell drugs than it is to go sling some freight, right? I mean, it's more dangerous and more risky, but it's easier, right? There's a risk that usually comes with easy things, right?
But when you're not thinking, you don't even know it's a risk. You're not even paying attention to that because you don't know who you are. You don't know what's going to happen because you're lost.
Or you don't give a shit because you're like, you know what?
Very lost.
I got nothing. Yeah, I got nothing going for anyway. At the end of the day, and like you said, you get in prison and you're looking at guys over here. They don't give a shit. Like they don't need to get out. They got nothing. They don't care. They're gonna do whatever.
People still doing drugs and getting drunk in prison.
And it's yeah, and it's just so being around.
Hey, with what Tony said, while comparison is the thief of joy, complacency is the thief of growth.
Amen.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, it's very true. I think set your bar high. Don't beat yourself up. I talk to Ashley all the time. She'll be like, I'm just worried about the kids and everything. I said, Ashley, we have the bar set so high, for these guys that, you're going to feel sometimes as though, you don't, you worry about them or whatever, but like, I'd much rather have that bar set high and maybe fall short or feel like we fall short of it than just have it, where, oh, well, these guys do this or they do that, or they let their kids do this or this and that. I mean, just an example, but again, you're comparing and you're okay with that complacency because, hey, you're still technically doing it better than this person. Right.
Yeah.
But that's only going to get
you. I was the best person. I had the most money because I surrounded myself with people who were less than me.
There you go.
And I felt like I was just a man.
I feel like we always come to this point in this show, and I feel like I say it every show, but it's the whole point of this show. I say it every time is, like I went through a period where I was cocky. I really was. I look back on it, and I was an asshole. But I mean, it really wasn't. I was successful doing all these things, but like, the whole reason starting the show and like, during COVID, especially, you had a lot of reflection time is I have been able to surround myself with people that are just better people than I am. And I've had some great friends, met some people that have really helped change my life.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yes.
Louis, want to throw it out there.
All you guys.
Yeah.
I know I could call Louis, Tony, Trey Griggs. I call those guys anytime I want. They'll answer. They'll talk to me about whatever I want to talk about because they care. But also, I surround myself with some really smart people. I've learned a ton. And I love having that discussion and listening and having those. That's what it's all about. Is surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. And damn, it makes you better because there's times I get done, I get fired up. I'm like, man, I gotta tell my team about this, or whatever it is that we heard or learned. So, hats off to all you guys, everybody that's always been involved in this show. Kenneth, for coming on again. I mean, I really think it's awesome. Everybody has to have a little bit of motivation every once in a while. Sometimes having a down day or feeling as though you get kicked around, and sometimes it just takes somebody telling a story of what they've been through to help push you through.
Hey, keep telling your story, Kenneth. That's a great story that ought to motivate and inspire a ton of other people that have that same background, have the same story. We were all there.
Thank you. Yeah, my sister Antamina, when I first got out, I was like, man, I can't tell people, what happened. She's like, no, you tell them. You be proud of it. You only don't say anything if you're still doing the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you grow from wherever you was, then yeah, like you said, share it, tell that story.
That's
and
right.
I've had so many people on LinkedIn specifically that wrote me and said, hey, my son's going through this, my daughter's going through this. I had an intervention with a family that had a cop that was a drinker. He was drinking on the job every day. Sat down with this guy, no counseling degree ever, but just being able to tell him my story motivated him to change.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And so,
keep telling that story, man.
I'm hiring somebody next week that just got out of prison.
That's
just
awesome.
Need opportunity.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. Kudos to you, and thanks for what you're doing. Keep telling that story, and we'll keep giving you the venue and the outlet to do it too, because I love that story. That story hits me right here. I work at a volunteer event where we interview with some folks that are in a halfway house, and we just give them practice interviews, you know, pull the curtain back and say, here's what we're looking for in an interview. And I want more people to take that second chance, you know, to get out there and say, man, I blew it, but here's what I'm going to do to go this way now. I'm going to take that first step in the right direction. Then I'm going to take another step in the right direction. And then pretty soon you find yourself way over there, right? Keep taking those steps in that right direction. But when you take steps the wrong way, you're going to end up where you don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Small steps forward.
Keep it going, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What's cool about your story, Ken, is, you know, these guys, when they get out, if you're not doing it, right, because you've been there, you've done that, if you're not there giving them a shot, who will? You know how hard it is for those guys to get a job out here in the streets. You know that firsthand.
Yep. That's why I started the company.
So keep doing you, bro, for real. Just keep moving forward.
Thank you for
Lewis
that.
Lewis is out in these streets.
Hey, bro, I came from the streets, and I'm still out in the streets.
Well, hey, Lewis, I drove a truck yesterday. I still hop in trucks. I got 2 customers that they need something locally. I'll go hop in the truck and go move it.
Oh, let's go.
That's what's up, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
Lazy people do a little work and think they should be winning. Winners work as hard as possible and still worry if they're being lazy. You know, I think
like
that's the way to really kind of look at it.
Yeah, I knew where you were going, but I don't know if that's how it landed, but I like it.
Yeah, well, whatever makes you feel better about yourself. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, remember, service matters, relationships matter. I want to tell a quick story whenever we got to get off here. Since I was little, I grew up in the 90s, right? So I had Michael Jordan posters everywhere. There was a certain shoe that I absolutely loved. You couldn't find anywhere. You still can't buy in a store. And like, I finally got to the point where, I was successful in my career, and I'm just still a tight ass. I just could not pull the trigger on buying them. And I always wanted them no matter what. I've got a customer I've had for a long time. He knew it. I saved a shipment for him last week, pulled it out of my ass. He was going to lose the customer if I didn't. And these showed up in the mail today.
Nice.
Unbelievable.
Nice.
Hey, I got a good dad joke before we head out, man.
Not pull the trigger.
No.
Wrap it up.
Shit.
I offered my elderly neighbor $20 to let me ride on her stair lift thing. Pretty sure she's going to take me up on it.
Oh my God.
I got to go.
Yeah, we're gonna end on that.
Hey, thank you
Crickets.
guys for the opportunity again. I really
What are you,
truly
sleeping
appreciate it.
up?
It's awesome. I'm glad you guys give me a place where I can share my story and inspire others.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kenneth. Keep it up, man.
Hey, and never. I know. I thought about it too. Like I said, don't ever get tired of telling it, because
That's right.
one more person that they hear it and they're all about it, man.
Got it.
Keep moving forward, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Moving forward.
Hey, I run across some drayage opportunities with some custies. I'll send them your way, man, because I can't send them to Tony.
You can send them to
Although he's
send them to Tony, and Tony can vet them and then send them to me.
Yeah, Tony can see if it's a good opportunity or not.
Bye.
See you guys.
All right, see you. Thank you.